Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to Open Studio with Christina Lovisa. Today we are going to do some really fun things. We're going to try out some brand new product. The new product is brought to us by Mod Podge, and we're going to try them out. So the product that I'm most excited about trying is the Ultra, and then also the matte spray. So the project I'm going to work on is a continuation of yesterday's project, because when I came in today and saw that they had dried, I thought, oh, this would be a great idea and a great place to try out some new product that I was supposed to sample yesterday and to demo yesterday. But here we are, and this is actually better because now I can incorporate some of yesterday's work into the panels, or I can incorporate, product today into yesterday's panels. So let's tilt this down so that you guys can see what I'm doing. But this brand new product is stuff that I brought into the store because we're starting to sell mixed media art supplies that are hard to find, or mixed media art supplies that are more unique than are carried everywhere. So because Mod Podge has always been a favorite of mine, make sure these are lined up, because they've always been a favorite of mine, I want to try using their expansion brands. So Mod Podge has always been great in terms of gluing things, but for very cool and very interesting application, they have come up with a this is called an Ultra. So this one is the Ultra in the matte, and it's an 8 fluid ounce bottle. What they're telling us is that it's spray on, which this is why I'm like super excited about this, because the fact is you don't have to open up your jar of glue and all that when you're in the middle of gluing something on, especially if you're working on a vertical surface. So I'm going to do that afterwards also, and you just want to glue on a piece of tissue or a piece of paper as you're working. This is great because you just spray the glue and then just plunk the piece of paper right into it. So it's not this separate process of having to go glue the back, glue the front, that sort of thing, because remember, glue likes to stick to glue. So this, I'm finding, when I saw that this was a new product, I think it's going to be worth its weight in gold. They do charge a little more for this product. This one's about $24 Canadian. It's a lot, and I'm really hoping that a little goes a long way. So comparatively, 8 ounces of the Mod Podge, the thicker stuff, right, that comes in the bottle, is about $12. So it's about twice the price, or maybe 16, I can't remember, but it's around 40% more, I remember, of the cost. But from the reviews, it will actually last you twice as long as the other one. So because you're not applying this thick amount every time. So if you consider it, every time you open your bottle, and not only are you exposing it to air and having that evaporation and having it thicken and everything else, but each time you go in there, you're removing like teaspoons at a time, right? So your bottles go down quite quickly, whereas this, apparently the spray is very fine and very even, and the little mist is really good. The only drawback I can see to this so far, I mean, we are going to test it, but the only drawback I can see to this is that when you are done painting for the day, they want you to take the nozzle off and to actually spray clear water through it before putting it back, because the glue will actually stick in here and clog the nozzles. So and then apparently it's very hard to unclog the nozzle. So let's give this a whirl. So the pieces I was working on yesterday, right, look like this. Let me take this stuff off. So I will hold them up again so we can see. But last week or 2 weeks ago on Friday, we made papers. And so this morning I started cutting out some of my papers, some of my little designs. And I started playing with positioning on top of on top of this piece, and this is on cardstock. So this was painted, these little drawings that I did were painted on a heavy cardstock. And normally this project, or this type of product, because of the cardstock, I would spray it with water, only to get it a little bit more flexible. But I've got two things going on with this paper. So one, I used water-soluble crayons on the front. And so water-soluble crayons, as you guys know, as soon as I hit this with a brush, like if I wanted to glue it in, I'm going to smear that. So all these little designs that I've done and cut out, they're all going to smear. So the very first product we're going to try out is the Mod Podge. And I believe one of you showed me this right at the beginning, and now I'm thrilled to be able to have this in my shop, because I think it's going to save us. So you can buy fixative, obviously, but what I really like about the Mod Podge is that it comes in different sheens, and this one is an ultra matte. And the nice thing about the ultra matte sealer is that I believe in small amounts we'll be able to put encaustic on top of this. So I'm going to test all this out for you guys between today and tomorrow. So I'll be your guinea pig. I'm the one who purchased it. So I'm going to give it a good shake, and I'm going to seal these things up. And the reason we're sealing them, remember, is because I want to glue them in place. I want to glue them in place, and I don't want to smear them. So we're going to put that aside, let that sit for a minute. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take just another piece of paper so you guys can see. And actually that's black. You can't see with a piece of black paper. Let me grab a piece of white paper. Much better. So then on the back of this one, I'm still going to, because this is a heavy cardstock, I'm still going to spray it lightly with a bit of water. So the reason I spray cardstock with water is just because it's actually it's very thick, right? It's like 2 or 3 ply of paper all sandwiched together. So you have this really thick absorbent paper. And it's in my experience that if I just go ahead and apply any type of glue to the back, what's going to happen is it's really thirsty and absorbent, right? So it absorbs all our glue. So now that so it feels dry to the touch, but what it's done is it's absorbed the glue in that area. So now I'm going to use the Mod Podge spray, so I don't have to brush, I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to, oh, it is very fine. So that's very nice because it's a nice fine mist. You don't have a lot, and you don't have a lot of the thickness. I'm going to put that aside for a second. And then where I want it, I'm just going to apply. And now let's try this out together. So glue to glue. Where am I going to place that? I should make sure that this is kind of level. There. Now this is a permanent bond. So remember we were talking before about the bond, the bond, once it's dry, the bond between wallpaper paste is that it's not permanent. So this is a permanent bond. There we go. It's not dry yet, but that's fine. So once it's down, your paper's down. The other place I want to experiment with this on top of is on top of the wax. So you know how I like to glue paper on top of the wax. I'm going to try this on this surface as well. The other thing I was hoping to try somewhere is, let's do it on the bigger piece. We'll do some tissue, but that's cardstock, and so far that seems really good, really easy. And oh yeah, so my pieces are already dry from the matte Mod Podge spray, which, like I said, is it's the same as a fixative spray, but because it's very toothy when it's done, because it's in the ultra matte, we should be able to wax on that, which we'll be doing tomorrow. So I'm going to flip these over, and I'm going to spray them with the glue, and then I'm going to put the glue where I want it. And I haven't really quite decided on this one, but let's just assume right there would be a good spot. Oh, this was the blue one. Nice. Okay. And these three, I don't know if you guys can still see, I'll move it down so that you can see. I'll hold them up, but can't see where I put my glue. So this is a permanent bond, like I said, and it dries in ultra matte. So, oh, I keep missing my spot. I should have marked where I put it. I'm just going to respray these because I can't see where I put the glue on here. Excellent. So these now are not spreading. They're not smudging because I've set them with a fixative. And they should, for tomorrow, be all encaustic ready because of the ultra matte nature of them. So that is, so far, I'm really happy with that. I'm also going to take over to a vertical painting. So let's go over to a vertical painting and then we can come back to these in a moment. So I'm just going to move my tripod. Sorry all, you're getting a very bad view at this point, because I have to turn the camera up. There we go. Okay, so on to this one. So this is another place where I believe the spray is really going to be of benefit to us, because when you're working vertically, I'm just going to grab some papers. When you're working vertically, it's very difficult to always have to stop what you're doing to come back and glue your papers back to front, side to side. So if I decide where I want to put some text, I'm just going to spray it with the Mod Podge, and then we'll spray it up here as well. So let's put it right there. Wow. Okay, so you see how easy that is vertically? Loving it for that reason. I knew I would. Now let's grab some tissue and do the same. So with tissue, we don't often glue to glue, right? We just do, I'm going to cut an arc or a shape out of my rust paper that I made last week. I'm only cutting a shape because I could do something just random on this, but because I've already got a lot of shapes and arcs, I thought maybe I would just follow some of this through. So I'm just going to put the glue where I want it and come in with the tissue. Okay, so I've secured it there. Now I know where my tissue is going. Whoops. I have to be a little more gentle with tissue, I suppose. Okay, push that down. Push that down. There, so you can see how working vertically with this stuff is going to do exactly what I had hoped it was going to do. And that's provide us with a really simple, really easy mechanism for getting the paper adhered without having to pull out your glue brush and stuff like that. So this is, this one is called Mod Podge Ultra. And just gonna glue the back of that, glue it up there, add some more paper. this one I think I should probably spray the matte sealer, because I realize I have a water soluble pencil there. So I'll do that one. And the nice thing about working these things at the same time is that I don't have to prep this. If I'm using the sealant at the same time, I can just go ahead and seal what I want to seal without having the pastel move on me. So if you are using soft pastels, this is a great tool for using it as you go, so that later on when you go to seal it in any capacity, you're not accidentally going to smear your product. Now I can put this, because now I realize I'm not going to, there we go, smear my pencil mark. I like that. I think I might want to have another one going on the opposite side. So I'm going to cut another one. I guess it helps to know where you're putting your paper. There we go. So I think I'll put it right there, and I'll lift this one and put it right there. So super convenient, super convenient. So A+ on this product. Yeah, that's going to be, got a little bit under there. That's going to be amazing. And you're going to see me using that a lot from now on, I think, because I kind of wish I had invented this product. Okay, just going to add a little more, just so we have some continuity down here. What do you guys think? Right there, right there. So the other nice thing about not having a lot of moisture is when we're using our other glues, we have to let them dry a lot longer, right? Because they have cellulose in them. They have a lot of, so this spray, I'll review it again. So it's going to be for sale this afternoon on my website. Actually, it might even be coming up soon in my feed, but my store is starting to carry different brands of things. So this is a Mod Podge Matte Ultra. So it's, we're testing it together today. It is supposed to be a lot longer lasting than your regular glues, but I'm thinking it's going to be a lot more convenient, because as we're working, right, we're not having to always cut something and then apply the glue to it, apply the glue to the surface. You can just keep working as you go. So can you put wax over the fixative? So yes, so this is an ultra matte. So when you are buying any kind of a fixative, you want to make sure that if you're going to put some wax over top of it, that you use an ultra matte. You want to have something that has a bit of tooth to it so that the wax has something to adhere to. So I'm going to actually seal these today, and then tomorrow my projects, I'm actually going to end up putting the wax over top, and I'll do the freezer test and all that stuff to make sure. I wouldn't lead you guys astray. I want to make sure that these products are doing what I'm pretty sure that they're going to be doing. So yeah, so Mod Podge has come up with this extremely practical product, which I can't wait to keep using more of, because I think it's going to be really, really convenient for gluing as we go. So I also feel like I could use this little piece of paper. Is getting quite the extensive life. There we go. So I'll do one more on here, and I'll see what the shape is. I think right there it's nice. So extremely convenient for gluing on vertical surfaces and for gluing tissue and stuff like that. Also when you want something fast dry, very, very convenient. I like this a lot. So I think you're going to see me using a lot more of this. Yeah, so if you are wanting to go over to curatednest.com, and we have a lot more mixed media products that I'm going to be demoing and trying to use over the next few weeks. I'm trying to stock sort of unique things, but also products that I will really endorse and really put my my name behind, right? So I'm also going to be working with a lot new encaustic products, and so we're going to have some great fun together trying out these things. So that's a really good one. I also want to do some big tissue area. I just have to find that tissue. I'll be right back. A napkin, that's what I'll use. So using a napkin, I'm going to separate this to its third and final layer. First one, remember, first one always comes off super easily. Now, the next one is never quite as easy. And I hear this a lot in classes. People say, oh, my napkins must only be 2-ply. It's not that often we see 2-ply napkins. It's the third layer is sometimes really difficult depending on how much ink has bled through. So the first ply is where they print, right? And the first print comes through onto the first layer of tissue, and so the more ink, the more it sticks to the backing. And then the third ply is generally what they put on just to I guess hide their ink, the bleed through ink. This one is giving me some issues, but I always say this is one of my superpowers. Oh. Okay, there it is, guys. I got it started. There. So don't be fooled into thinking your napkins are 2-ply. Even napkins from the dollar store have 3-ply. This one just happens to have a lot of ink. So you see the ghost one, this is called the ghost image. The second one is often more interesting than the actual napkin itself, especially if it has a lot of ink, because there it is. So that one was really hard to apply, but if you look at it, right, it's actually got a lot of ink. It's got a lot of interesting stuff going on, so I'll probably keep that one. And this one, oh, you can see I've already put some in here before, so maybe I'll balance it out on this side. So let's try this. So Mod Podge on the fly, that's what I would have called it if it was my brand. Okay, cut my napkin. There we go. Now I'll just apply my glue where I want it. Put my napkin in place. And there we are. So yeah, super convenient, super loving this. It's great. So yeah, so the true test will be when we can see if we can put wax over top of this stuff and how well it's stuck. I did watch the brand ambassadors videos for these products, and they're very cool because they have a really high like a really high adhesion level. So people were attaching like fabrics and stuff like that to flower pots and things like that. Normally that's no job for wallpaper paste. That's a job for like something heavier duty. So good job, Mod Podge. So far so good. Love the fact that it's in a spray bottle. So like I said, this is supposed to be longer lasting. I've barely even made a dent in this, and I've done lots of things so far with it. That's really good. The reason that they are touting and boasting the fact that a little goes a long way and that you'll save on glue is because it's about 40% more than Mod Podge in a jar. So, but I have to say, the nozzle and all that, super convenient. So when you are done with this though, they do recommend that you take this off and then run this, run hot water through it by pumping and pumping and pumping until you've got nothing but hot water running through, and then that way it'll clear it out so that you don't end up with a clogged nozzle. So let's go back over to these little guys and see if there's more we can't do on them before tomorrow, because tomorrow we're waxing these things, right? So I'll see if I add more collage to them, and what happens next, we'll find out. You guys seem to really, by all the comments yesterday, seem to really enjoy these pieces, so I think it's worthwhile. Sorry everyone, you're getting a crazy view as I move that over. Here we go, we'll come back to this, tilt it down. Yeah, you guys seem to really like this project, so I'm going to see it through to the end and finish them up, and really put these new products and things to the test, because I think this is going to be really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some soft pastel on here, because we're often talking about soft pastels. And water-soluble crayons and things like that. And I'm going to do some water-soluble things on here so that we can use the fixative and then do wax on it tomorrow. So I'm going to evolve these just a little bit more, because I think I should cut those parts off, but I think it's going to be kind of interesting in the long run. So I'm going to use my soft pastels and just embellish and color. So if I wanted it to be completely opaque, then I wouldn't brush it in with my finger or smear them in with my fingers. But what I'm actually trying to do is just trying to blend this a little bit. So typically what we would do to seal this, I've shown you guys before, when I'm using wax, I just come in right with the wax and try to dab it in place to prevent smearing. But now I want to test out that Mod Podge product, and in doing so, I'll be trying out the wax tomorrow to see how far we get. So this is, I know we've talked about these pastels a lot, and I absolutely love them. The soft pastels don't really work on top of wax, they only work under the wax. So there are different products meant for on top of the wax, the pan pastels. You can use these on top of the wax if you apply them with a makeup sponge. Otherwise, it's really hard to apply these with anything other than a bit of a toothy surface. So pan pastels still are, I think, my color or my pastel of choice on top of the wax. However, these do work if you use them with your makeup sponges to apply it, and they have a lot more color choices obviously than the pan pastel. And the pan pastel does come in a lot of colors now. So this is also really livening up some of these colors. And the background, you can see, is now quite faded, because what I did yesterday was I applied a lot of chalk paint, even in very thin washes, so it's dulled down that. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to wake that part up as well. And I'll just keep working with some of my colors here until we end up with something that looks really ready for wax. I could sit here and play with this all day. There we go. Some of these earthier colors are actually almost the same color as the plywood and the rust paper. So I'll use that to enhance a little bit. And then where I have it a little heavy, I may even go in with a baby wipe and just tone some of it down. But some of the colors it's just fun to just try new colors with these things and to really experiment with the intensity of them and the application of them. So down here is where for value contrast I wanted to bring your full attention with applying the color and not making and ensuring that I don't get rid of all my value contrast. So now let me grab a baby wipe and blend a little bit of this and remove a little bit of this. And once I'm happy with the color, and then I can continue to collage. I continue to blend some of this. Remember, this is going to remove the pastel a lot easier, so I'm just dabbing and kind of blending and removing a lot of the opacity of the pastel by turning it into a bit more of like a stain. Nice. And where the color doesn't work, you can just remove it. I love this rust color, which came out of my rust paper, but it's also echoed in this soft pastel color that comes down, and that looks really pretty. Okay. Nice. So I love this little aqua bit on the sides. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's an aqua. I'm not going to overdo it with the aqua, but instead I'll bring in this other blue, which might give the aqua a bit of room to breathe and also a little room to be the star attraction. So yeah, that aqua really, really sings with these pieces. And then this other blue is a little more grounding. Okay, and then I want to use like a greeny blue. So I just have a feeling that if I introduce a bit of a greeny blue, that it's going to, that's nice, that it's going to have a nice sort of relationship between the yellows and also the warmth of that wood that we have in the old plywood. Oh, and how it mixes with the green is also really nice. Or sorry, with the yellow to make a green on the spot is nice, and it's also adding a lot of depth. There we go. Okay, so I think I have those pretty much integrated and set. Like I said, I could go crazy and just keep adding colors, but I think I'll just call it for the sake of doing the demos, because tomorrow, so I have to see also if there's any more collage I want to do, because tomorrow, once we do the wax, I don't want to have anything wet on here, right? So I don't want to have any dry time, any surprise dry time. Okay. This part could also be integrated a little better. So the nice thing about having the soft pastels also is that you don't have to have a large variety of colors always available in terms of there we go, in terms of your chalk paints and your clay-based paints and things like that. So I'm often saying that a little bit of high concentrated acrylics, which we'll also review next week, or some soft pastels and things like that, a little will go a long way. And you don't need to have a lot of extra material, and even if you only had, you know, a few chalk paints or a few clay-based paints, then you wouldn't be limited or restricted by things that we have on hand. And also, speaking to that, we were also talking about right at the beginning of all this lockdown and everything. We talked about not wanting to run out and buy more supplies and use what we have and that sort of thing. So this type of product also really lends itself well when you've got some good quality water solubles or some water soluble crayons, some soft pastels, some heavy, like some fluid acrylics with a lot of pigment in them. This all will serve you well when you are working in mixed media, because it translates to all different projects, all different mediums. I make sure that I'm always getting things in caustic ready, so you can ask me any questions about that as well. And like I said, tomorrow we're going to transition these into encaustic paintings. So it's really important to me that today you were able to see things in different capacities. So I'm going to bring back, so this is my big vat of goo, so I always talk about that. My big vat of goo is just this container that I have where I clean my brushes and then I add walnut ink to it. So it's just like a very watery stain that I find helps unify a lot of my colors and warms things up a little bit in an antiquing fashion without having to buy or invest in antiquing mediums all the time. I use a lot of my own sort of creation by cleaning my brushes and adding walnut ink to this. And now you'll see I'm going to use paper towel on this one. So I'm going to remove the water from it first using paper towel. And then I'll blend it out with my baby wipe just by dabbing the edges. I can go back in with paint or with pan pastel, whatever the case may be. We're going to seal this up and get it ready for wax tomorrow. So this old plywood and the goo on top really has a really lovely unifying effect with the sort of the old-timey image that I've chosen for up there. Might bring a little more of that blue back under it. Nice. There we go. So you can see with the pastel too, I don't have to always just like blend them in. I can leave them, I can bring them more into and leave them so that we could see the marks. Let me do some on this side so that we can also bring that together. Let's pretend on this one we have like a rainstorm. It's really not the rainstorm, it's really about leaving a mark so that we can set it and tomorrow have that fantastic background ready to wax without smearing. I'm just doing some random marks because normally, like I said, this kind of thing isn't really possible with soft pastel unless you set it with a fixative, and so we are going to try a fixative that I believe will be very compatible with encaustic, so we'll do that tomorrow. It only became evident to me when I realized how toothy the spray was. So let's give it a whirl. And it was one of you, I can't remember who was showing me this way back at the beginning, but when I saw that it came in a spray, I was really excited to try it, and so here we are trying it live together. Okay, so these are looking super cute. They are ready for wax, I believe, so I'm going to spray them with the, I'll grab that, with the matte fixative spray. The nice thing about the spray glue that we were trying is that normally I'd have to wait until the wallpaper paste or the Mod Podge had set. And with the spray adhesive, because it's such a thin amount, it's actually all very dry. So I don't need to wait on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spray this with the fixative. Oh, actually I wanted to do a little something there, didn't I? Back up the bus for one sec, guys. I want to show you something else. So, because I wanted to bring the vibrancy out in the wood, I am going to do that using a little bit of vegetable oil. So the wax will have no problems because it likes oil. Do I have to fill this? I might have to fill this. So let me just grab some regular old vegetable oil and put it on a paper towel, and we'll try this together. So this is actually a technique that I kind of accidentally discovered when I was in high school. So way back when, I had a portfolio, and I had left it on our kitchen counter, and my dad was making French fries or something, and he put down the pot lid, and it created a circle on my sketchbook paper. And so I was like devastated because I'm like, no, you ruined my painting or my picture in my book. So instead I actually took a paintbrush and I painted more vegetable oil on it. And then I made a little comment to my teacher, and I said, this looks like, you know, like an oil stain. I said, but what it actually is I said, if you hold this page up to the light, you'll see that the oil has made the picture become translucent. So my teacher thought it was very innovative that I was like learning about ways of manipulating there we go, ways of manipulating the background situation so that the page would change its translucency. So I actually tried to cover up my mistake by making it look more intentional than it really was. And in the end, I realized that now that when I want to bring out the beauty of or the depth of something, because you know how you like something when it looks wet more than you like it when it's dry? Sometimes we need to add that level of translucency back to it. So this wood yesterday had a really beautiful sheen to it, like a yellowness, and that came from just how old this plywood actually is. So now what I'm doing with the vegetable oil is just applying it to the raw wood areas so that it can absorb the oil and it can stay wet looking. So now, once it has like really soaked in, I'm just going to rub off any excess, because even the wax won't stick to a slick surface, so we just have to make sure that it's dry. But I'll remove any excess, leaving it there, and then tomorrow we will be ready for our wax. There we go. So I'll continue to set the fixative on these, but I'll turn the camera up and then I'll show you the additions of today. There we go. So the additions for today on this one was the adhesion of some collage bits done with the this product here, the Ultra Matte Mod Podge, that we're trying out as an adhesive for mixed media, which is super convenient. I have to say, so far I'm really liking this product. And so that was easy to add those things, and they're already dry. So if I was ready to get into wax, they would be set. So then the other thing that we tried out today was the addition of the soft pastel, having been fixed with the new Mod Podge Ultra Matte Spray, And that has provided a really nice toothy surface to which I can go ahead tomorrow and apply my wax. So tomorrow on Waxing Wednesday, we're going to transition these into encaustic paintings. So you always, before going into an encaustic painting, if you have a mixed media base or an acrylic base, you always have to make sure that it's ready for that transition stage. So the transition stage is making sure that it's not shiny and it's not going to repel any of the wax or anything like that. So that's the first one that will be completing tomorrow with the wax. Is this one here, which has the, today you could see it's still kind of shiny. I have to spray this one. I haven't sprayed this one with the fixative yet. So the shininess on here would be a very good indication that it's not ready for the wax. So this is what I'm talking about. This is why we're going to use this, the Mod Podge Ultra Matte Spray, which when it's dry has a really toothy surface to it. So the addition today that we've added is the collage bits using the Mod Podge Ultra, which is the new spray glue by Mod Podge, which seems to be fantastic so far. And then we've added the soft pastel and fixing it again with the Mod Podge Ultra Matte Fixative Spray. So join me tomorrow as we make sure that these are encaustic ready, and we'll get them all waxed up and beautiful into encaustic paintings. I'm not sure if you guys can see the bottom. Yeah, there you can. So that's what we added in today, was just a little bit of collage paper that we had made in our previous Friday class. And you can see how, you know, one thing just kind of leads into the next. So that's really what Open Studio is all about, using what you have and then building on your steps to continue into something else. So thanks again for watching today, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Waxing Wednesday will be here, and we will be completing these two products or projects and doing the final test as to whether or not wax is compatible with these new Mod Podge projects. All right, bye everybody. Thanks for watching. Take care.